Hey guys, Cup from Defend the North coming at you with another attack review video. Today we're going to be looking at a Town Hall 11 hybrid, so stay tuned. So this attack came in from Dynamo, one of our Town Hall 11s, and he's going to be hitting it with a hybrid. I'd like to talk about a couple key points about this attack and attacking in general before we get into the replay. Specifically for hybrid, pack size, hog pathing, and really having a backup plan, because I think all those are kind of key things that play into how this attack played out. So with a hybrid, the size of the packs, of the combination of the hybrid miners and hogs that are coming in, is really essential to whether it's going to be successful or not. If you have, for instance, two large groups of hogs and miners going forward, they're going to do a lot of damage, they're going to move very quickly through, they're going to be very successful. If they tend to spread out and all of a sudden you get 4 or 5 or 6 groupings of miners and hogs, the damage is spread out too thin and they're going to be taking a lot more damage from the base across a broader area. So it's going to be harder to heal and it's going to be slower to get through the base. So really what you're wanting to do with a hybrid is to keep those packs tightly knit together and have as few numbers of groups of hogs and miners going through at any one given point in time. The second key thing is hog pathing. Now, obviously, miners will go to whatever the closest building is, whereas hogs, we're going to deviate towards the closest defensive structure. Now, when you look at a base like this, one of the key things you have to take into account is where is that attack going to be coming in from? If, for instance, in this case, he's coming in from this bottom section here, you can see there's a clear division here between the pathing that would go this way around and the pathing that would go over to this side. And that's really a key thing is understanding when you launch your hybrid, which direction are your hogs going to go into. If they go away from the miners, all of a sudden your packs are going to be splitting and you're going to have to be spreading your heals thinner. They're going to be taking more damage. They're going to be moving a lot slower through the base. The last thing just to keep in mind is having a backup plan. Now at the planning stage for attacks like these, well, you really want to take into account how can your attack fail? Can you improvise? Do you have a backup plan to be able to account for it? There's a couple major things that happen, or main things that happen. For instance, clan castle troops. Perhaps you have got an E-Dragon there or super minions and they attack and the poison spell you have for them or the troops you have for them don't kill them. How do you deal with them at that point in time? Same thing, queen walks and queen charges are notorious for not going as planned. Often you can have a queen veer left instead of right or die to super minion attacks. And you've got these healers invested just sitting there not doing anything. How do you adapt and deal with that? And then finally, the other main one that happens is what happens when you have a super breaker fail or super wall breaker fail. You're expecting to break through that exterior wall and they fail, small bomb, splash damage. What do you do? How do you adapt to it? If you have a wall breaker or if you have a log launcher, often it's not as big of a deal, but when it comes to queen charges, it's really important to make sure those wall breakers get the impact that you want them to. So with all that in mind, let's take a look at Dynamo's attack here and see how it went. So he's coming in from the 6 o'clock direction with the queen charge. Coming in with a baby dragon, 2 baby dragons to set the funnel. And coming in with some wall breakers, gets that exterior wall down. Fantastic. Everything going smoothly up until this point. Got the clan castle troops coming out, so he's going to use a poison spell to slow them down, start weakening them. Also invests a rage and is also going to freeze. So a lot of spell support just to make sure that the queen charge stays healthy. He's able to push deeper into the base and no risk of the queen going down early. Now I'm going to pause it right here. You'll notice a couple additional wall breakers are coming in here to get through that second layer wall, and they go down to the Inferno, some small bombs, and some mortar fire. So this is where the backup plan is going to come into play. What he really wanted to do was to get the Archer Queen into that central area. That compartment with the CC in there would have given him access to the multi-target, to an X-bow, to the Eagle, a lot of high damage and high hit point buildings. So that would have been perfect because it would have set a very, very strong funnel for his hybrid to come. Without that wall being open, he knows his queen is going to walk either left or right. So now it's a question of which direction does she go and how exactly can he adapt at that point. So let's keep it going for a second here. Rages to get through the storages. And at this point, he can tell she's going to be walking to the right, so he drops his siege barracks to start carving out the right side funnel. Queen continuing forward. Okay, and I'm going to pause again just at this point because here comes the hybrid. Now, this is where the conversation topic of hog pathing is really going to come into play. He's smartly deploying his hogs and his miners into 2-packs, so nice and compact. But the pathing part of it is where this is going to really come into play here. As these hogs come through, they're going to path to the closest defensive building. And you'll see what happens is they're going to start going towards the center, whereas the miners are going to start going off to the side. Because of this, he's spreading it too thin, and these 2-packs are actually going to become a lot more very, very quickly. So let's keep the attack going and see how this plays out. So use his queen ability. Here comes all the hogs. Early warden ability to keep everything fresh, and you can see the split starting to happen here. You've got your hogs, some of them going towards the core. You've got the CC hogs and the miners splitting off to the right. Now, this is a decent sized pack of hogs in the core that are actually pulling some of the healers away. They're constantly under fire by the 2 multi-targets, by the Expo, by some of the Teslas and some skeleton traps. At this point, the healers are taking a lot of those Inferno beams as well, and the bulk of the hybrid is really starting to thin out with some bombs and some additional damage being pointed at them. Now, it's not over. He's still got a lot of damage rolling through the base. He's got a lot of cleanup. Those miners are doing some work up at 12, and his queen is still rolling through. But at this point, he's just kind of losing momentum. And the 9 o'clock area has a lot of point defenses with those archer towers and cannons. So you can see just kind of running out of steam as the attack goes through. So we'll just keep watching here. He's got a P.E.K.K.A up at the top, helping with the cleanup. All the healers are now gone. His queen's going to go down already, having used her ability. And at this point, the few remaining miners will pick up some additional percentage, but there's not really a lot more that they're going to be able to pull off on this base. So a little bit of additional cleanup. So really, in this situation, what could have happened differently? Well, on review, we'll go back to the base in a second. We'll take a look at what adjustments could have been made along the way. But this was definitely a situation where the pack just spread out too thin, and unfortunately weren't able to deliver the damage they needed to, or to be able to get the spell support to be able to make that happen. Okay? So let's just take a quick look back at the beginning so we can see the base as a whole here. So I think what was key here was as soon as the queen went down, it was this section here, the Eagle, the air defense, and the Expo, that really caused the pathing issue. If you remember, when the hogs started pathing through, they came this way. I think if the queen was a little bit more patient and was able to break this part of the ring, what would have happened is the hogs would have then instead veered over and kept with the rest of the pack and gone through all as one group. I think that would have made a pretty significant difference in the success of the attack. But at that point, there really wasn't much you could plan for, because obviously that would have been something you'd have to think up on the fly as you were coming in, and those second layer wall breakers failed. So it was still an excellent attack. It was a great hybrid. It got in a 90+% 2-star, so definitely had a great outcome there. So great job, Dynamo, on that. Key takeaway from this: definitely take a look at the hog pathing. Make sure you have options to be able to keep your packs together. Maybe something to consider in the future is looking at what direction do you come in a base at. Was 6 o'clock the right option? Generally speaking, if you want to kind of go with the traditional L-shaped funnel, if you were to create an X across the base, and you're aiming to take out one of the 4 quadrants to be able to then help path your hybrid through the rest of it, I'd be personally looking at this top one, because there's a lot of empty space in there. There's a lot less buildings you'd have to kind of deal with. So in theory, if you were to take down this section, for instance, with your queen charge, you'd probably have to lure the CC early. It might not work in that respect, but something to consider. And then throw a siege barracks to go down the side, and then bring in your hybrid through that section. It would have kept the pathing a lot more tight through. Just something that might have worked. Don't know. We'll have to wait and see if this base ever pops up again. But definitely at the planning stage, these are things you can take into account. And but otherwise, yeah, great job. Thanks for submitting this for review, and until next time, take care.